things can be different, especially with something like childbirth. We see ourselves as silos. I don't know if it's better or worse, but it's certainly divine. She's like, are you really my daughter? Are you really committed to truth, to light, to love, to the sacred life? Because let it go a little.
Hi, welcome to another conversation. And today we have Asha Ramakrishnan with us, and we are going to talk about everything about sisterhood and the wound that it has created in our current life situation. So, the main topic is why women don't trust each other. And Asha here is an expert on that topic. Asha, welcome and thank you for your time. Can you introduce yourself to us?
Yes, of course. I don't know if I'm an expert at this topic, but I have certainly been in the journey with this topic for a very long time. And to sort of say a little bit about me. So I'm originally trained as a molecular biologist. I was in business development in the biotech world. And I always had this kind of like niggle, this thing of spirituality that it just always was like a part of my life. And I kept going deeper and deeper, and simultaneous to working this very corporate line of work, I was also getting all kinds of certifications, going deeper in my own spiritual journey. And I had this like moment in my life when it was after I had my second daughter. So I have two daughters. And after I had my second daughter and she was born at home, and I didn't experience pain through the labor and birth process because I sort of went into this altered state. That moment really changed my life because I started seeing that, wait a second, things are not as we've been told. Things can be different, especially with something like childbirth. It's like a rite of passage of like, we know pain. As women, we know pain. Let me tell you about it. And so to have a different experience with it really was like, blew my mind. And then after that, a couple years after that, I had this spiritual experience in the shower where I heard, hold these principles to be truth and to live by. And I was just like, what? Where is this coming from? Like, what is happening? And I just like grabbed a towel, like water dripping everywhere from the shower. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. And then I wrote down the principles. Eventually, I put them into a book. The Priestess Code, Awakening the Modern Woman. I'm telling you this because one of the principles, I mean, they were all, so when I wrote them down, I read them after I wrote them down and I thought to myself, these are really nice, but I don't live this way. And so I knew they came to me so that I would explore what it meant to be a being that was more connected to nature, a being that was more connected to the moon. The very first principle was you're a seasonal being, accepted. And this was about radical acceptance of the lows and highs. What does that mean? Because I think also sometimes we think like, no, life is supposed to be better, 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 better. And then we don't always know what to do in those moments that feel really hard and not what we want. And so radically accepting each moment was like a new way for me to experience life. And then one of the principles that really I was like, I don't want to do this, was connect to a sisterhood. It will strengthen you. And I have to be honest with you, in that moment in my life, I was not having a sisterhood. I was probably even struggling in my relationships with my own sisters. I was in the middle of being backstabbed in the workplace by people who I thought were my friends. And I was in deep pain and I thought, I don't need that in my life. I have my husband and he's great. And he's like, a best friend. I'm good with that. And the truth is that because those principles were there in front of me, I knew that I had to lean in. I knew that I needed to make myself vulnerable. I knew that I needed to explore what it actually meant to connect to other women, to trust other women, to let myself help other women. This like symbiotic thing that happens in friendships and especially with other women. So that's kind of my background.
That's fantastic. Like everything that you just spoke about is what every woman don't bring their awareness to. And you had like a gift falling from the sky and telling you everything. And you brought the awareness and you choose to lean in. Tell us more about this journey of you leading towards sisterhood.
Yeah, I don't think it was natural for me. When I started really being an inquiry, like the first point of inquiry is not so much like, well, that person did me wrong, that person did me wrong, I did that person wrong. It was really more about why do we feel this way? Like, why is this a universal thing? And so I started looking at, okay, what is the first relationship that we have with woman that flavors, never mind society, never mind the patriarchy. And it was mother, our relationship to our mother. And that relationship, even though many of us come from cultures where we're taught not to think anything negative about our parents. And I think that there's value in that, but I also think that there's value in being honest with ourselves about what we didn't get, what we did get, but also what we didn't get. And that is kind of the genesis of letting ourselves not only heal, but then also change the course of our lineage. Because if I don't look back and say, look, this is not about faulting somebody because everybody's doing the best they can. Essentially, if our parents don't have consciousness, they're just bringing their childhood patterns to the present day. And then the stressors of making money, having a home, taking care of elders, like all these things that our parents were tasked with, also that you and I know. We know the task that they had. And you and I know that, okay, we want to do things differently. We want to take the good, but we also want to evolve the thing that has been a little like that where there's a disconnect. And so I had to take a look at what was happening with my mother because I think that I had such a story around the pain of the love that I didn't get from my father that I was kind of ignoring the subtle layers of the nurturing that wasn't happening in my life when I was little. And how, so I'm the oldest of five. I sort of became a second mother to my siblings, which, you know, many of us in these cultures, we know what that's like too, right? Like we're parentified when we're still like kids. And
Yes.
and so um you know, I had to take a look at that. I had to be really honest about that. And then after I was honest about those layers that informed the way that I related to woman or to the sense of nurturing or all the full spectrum of what it means to be woman, because it's not just about nurturing, it's also about fierceness. And I love that in our Sanatan Dharma, we are so lucky because we get to see all the faces of the goddess. We get to see all the representations of Shakti, and we get to see the representation of what's available for us to express and be. And so, okay, so first was that. Then it was, all right, what is happening in society that's making us pin us against each other? And it's really the patriarchy. I mean, to, you know, sort of like nail it to like one synthesis, it's the patriarchy has made it so that we feel ourselves as separate beings, not symbiotic beings. We see ourselves as silos. You live in a home. I live in a home. I raised my kids here. Very little help because we are also not in cultures where my parents are here or families here to support us. So we're very much have been like this, raising our kids. And that is just another example of um how we operate in the world as human beings, never mind women, but as human beings, we're very much like, nope, I'm just doing this for me. It's me, it's me, it's only me against me and me against the world. And we've forgotten this sense of what it means to be interconnected. We've forgotten what it actually means to not feel as though we have to do it all by ourselves. Yeah.
That is deep. We came out from the womb of a woman, and we are a woman, yet we find it difficult to be with other women. And it starts from our mother, like you just said. How did you heal yourself after bringing this awareness to your mind, body, and soul?
Yeah, I think they call it in therapy of exposure therapy, where you just expose yourself to the thing that you fear. I think that there was some of that because I had to lean in. So how was I going to lean in? I can't just like lean in my head. I can't just lean in my own healing. And sure, I can, change the relationship with my mother, with my blood sisters. But I had to be like, all right, I'm being asked to explore this. And so, yeah, it was a little bit of that exposure therapy and combined with a very specific tool. And the tool was for me to be really honest with everything that comes up for me when I'm in relationship with a group of women or one friend. Everything that like to take 100% responsibility for what shows up for me energetically when I'm in relationship with somebody else. Now, this is not to excuse abusive behavior, toxic behavior, and it's not to excuse any of that, but it does take two to tango. And so I have to own at least my share of it. Maybe it's I take 100%, the other person takes 100%, but we're not always in relationships where people know how to do that. So that is also informs what kind of relationship do I have with you? Like, can we go to the place where we say, hey, I have some hard things to say to you. And can that person receive that? And not always. And it's super painful to let yourself be vulnerable, to let yourself feel all the feels, take ownership for your own stuff. And then you show up with all of that to someone else and they're just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Like, good for you, but I'm not doing that. It's so painful. And that informs, I mean, first of all, we have to like feel the grief of someone not meeting us where we want them to meet us. And easily, I can tell you for me, easily, I can just go in my cave and be like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. This isn't going to work. Like, no, people aren't willing to do this. Maybe I'm not willing to be more vulnerable, more honest. But again, exposure therapy, where I just, once I go through my grief process, I also have to trust that my open heartedness can meet the open heartedness of another person. And it doesn't mean that it has to be perfect all the time, but I do think that we have to be willing to, especially for the more intimate relationships, we have to be willing to have hard conversations and hear each other. And you can start seeing that if the other person is taking responsibility for their feels, then it it allows for a space where we can be more human.
I love the fact that you identify that you need to grieve. It's giving yourself that space at the time that most of us don't really recognize that. I'm so grateful for that thought because I've never recognized that I can grieve about this and it's okay. It is something I feel when you spoke about it, I felt like that is the essential piece that we're missing. So when you talk about grieving after identifying this whole problem and the other party is not doing what you want them to do. How do you go about it? Because it felt like I can't let go. How am I supposed to do that?
Let go of the relationship, you mean?
Like grieving. Grieving for me when you say I need to like let go all this control within my body and accept it and also some sort of ego it's in say why don't they do what I do
Oh my
and I
God.
don't feel like I'm in their journey and listening to them or when I listen to their journey and there's like a blockage I don't know how to undo it so I go into a grieving process how do I have a stable, more integrated mind instead of saying, oh, they didn't do this, I did this? I don't want to be in that situation. I want to come out strong. I want to come out letting it go, like it's done and I can move forward? How do I do that?
I mean, I have to say, I love what you said because I think you really kind of nailed it. Is like the grief is actually that they didn't meet my expectation, or at least that's a component. It could be that the grief is that I actually want to be closer. I actually want, like, I know there's a deep, innate, maybe ancient part of me that wants connection with women. And so I think there are multiple things that we are grieving. We're grieving that expectation that you mentioned. We're grieving this like loss of like, ooh, I know there's a possibility here and I'm not quite materializing it in my life. And I don't know how else to describe it. It's just like deeply painful. And, I think everybody's sort of had some kind of relationship, like a boyfriend or something, that they break up. And it's just like, oh my God, like I had such visions for this thing and it just didn't happen. And, you know, like think sometimes it can feel that way with other women, but there's something that goes even deeper because I do believe that part of our DNA remembers a time when we were together, remembers a time when we would bleed together, remembers a time when we would mourn together, remembers a time when we would celebrate together. And when we are in these silos in this post, capitalist world that we find ourselves in, we don't always have opportunities to be with each other in this like very human way. The way that I have grieved, I can't say necessarily that I have the answers for how grief is. I'm certainly not an expert on grief, but I had to let myself process. I had to let myself cry. I had to let myself, for me, like my connection is very much to the earth, to like sit with the earth and kind of rebalance with the earth. That's my way, doing ceremony on the earth. Maybe, for if people have an ability to like go to temple or go have a sacred fire, a hawan, like that's amazing because you get to go through not just the emotional layers, but you get to go through all the higher realms in which you were connected maybe to this person too. Because, you and I'm sure, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to superimpose my beliefs on you, but we, I think we come from the sort of philosophy that we're not just this one person in this one life, that we are ancient, and we probably travel with these people, and the people that we feel the most with, whether it's the most love, the most hate, the most whatever, is people that we've probably traveled with, right? Like we're each other's
Yes.
teachers, right? And so there's these layers that I that's why I love any kind of ceremony and sacred environment where you can transverse into other realms and kind of heal on these other realms, not just the emotional or mental, psychological realm, but really go to those deeper places where, we may not understand it cognitively. That's sort of part of the surrender. And so to let it go, I'm definitely not the person to ask, how do you let it go? Because I can still, as we're talking here, there are these like people in my past who I'm still really sad that they're not in my life, like really, really sad. And there's a part of me that's like cheering for them, even though I know I can't have a human to human connection with them because it's not correct. But they stay with me. Maybe I haven't let it go, or maybe that's normal. I don't really know.
That's an amazing journey not to know. Sometimes I feel like when we don't know, we are more open to certain opportunity that comes to us. Just like how you explained, you heard the divine voices while you're taking shower, and you started writing a book. If you were in the box, you wouldn't have that this is happening. So when you talk about grounding, I know you love ceremony, you have done a lot of ceremony, I've seen a lot of it. I love to know more about the ceremonies, all kind of aspects that you do that heal yourself within you and enables you to reach out more women out there.
I think that as women, and this is the beautiful thing. So I'm also a Vedic astrologer, and it's, many of my teachers are men, and it's so interesting to watch the way that they translate these teachings of Vedic astrology and what's happening and so on. But as women, we have this ability to connect to our intuition, or not even our intuition. I think we connect to a language that goes beyond the numbers, that goes beyond like this planet is here and that planet is there. And this ability that we have to go to the unseen realms is what actually, I think it's what allows us to feel a sense of connection. And then imagine if we do this with other women or we do this with other humans, like that even amplifies even more so. So there was something that if you don't mind, I'm going to talk about the ceremony piece, but you said I don't know of it all, and this thought was like time. What we do with that time allows us to come to peace with what transpired. Yeah. So what you do in that time, like maybe it's not time that heals all wounds. It's like, what do you do in that time? And how do you make that wound become part of the whole? That's what I was feeling right when you ended that.
We really want to talk about the time and our relationship to the time. As you mentioned, time, how we lead into the time and how the time talk to us. What is time in our own concept or in Sanatan Dharma concept?
Yeah, you were saying, we were talking about how time is Kala or Kali, and you were saying that it's about, well, go ahead.
Yeah,
You had
I was sharing that Kali Maryada is one of the Devi Maryada that we all follow in Chamudi Gurukul. And Kali Maryada is all about Kali being the time. And if you don't give her the space or respect her, she's going to create anxiety in your body. And that anxiety is what causes lots of trouble, whether you're a man or you're a woman, doesn't matter. As a human being, when we don't respect time, we don't really heal because we are just jamming up our daily life and how we show up within this time. And when we say time heals, what that truly means. What is our core relationship with the time, with Kali Devi, who wants to heal us by killing all the negative emotions, particularly this anxiety? Who is she?
She definitely wanted to be seen. And I just love what you said about letting her have her way with us, in those moments where we know we either resist or we surrender to the deconstruct. And that's actually another of the principles of the priestess code. The first one is you're a seasonal being, accept it. And the second one is deconstruct and construct. It is your nature. So I feel like Kalima has been such a teacher to me, deconstructing and letting space be after we deconstruct before we rebuild. Like there's so much wisdom, because I think even when she is helping us deconstruct something, when she's having her way with our life in sometimes ways that our mind or our expectation, back to like our expectation, thought this should be this way. And she's like, are you really, my daughter? Are you really committed to truth, to light, to love, to the sacred life? Because let it go a little. Let go of those human parts a little and let me eat up the things that are not right for you. And I don't think it's easy for us to let things go. Back to your question, how do we let it go? I don't think it's easy. And I think this like thing of surrendering to the cosmos, to the great cosmic mother, to the great mother, to the dark mother, I think back to her womb back to like what you were saying is like we come from a womb, we go back to the womb, and then there's the cosmic womb. I think that letting ourselves go to those, like, talk about vulnerability, talk about, I don't know what I'm doing here, what I'm swimming in these waters. You're taking things away from me that I wanted to keep, but like you're taking them away. And like, I'm just trusting that you have my back and that I practice is sort of keeping me in alignment and in relationship to you, right? Like that's another thing with like, our whether it's yogic practice or our japa practice is how that's our way of kind of getting on the wave, on the wavelength of I trust you. I'm here with you. I'm practicing with you. I'm sitting with you.
Yes, that trusting is what you need. The key component to surrender is trust. And we are so lucky because we know who we are trusting. We are not trusting to anything that we can't see. We can see, we can feel, we can sense her. And that's Kalima. And when you say just trust her and let go, finally I got my answer. How can I grieve without, like, I'm going down, 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 and nobody is there? But that's not true. She is there because she is creating this, and I can surrender to her. She's like, you go down there, and there's this rope down here. When you're ready, the rope is always going to be there. I got you back. And that is beautiful. And I feel like every single woman out there, if they choose to open up in any way that is good for them, they will come to a place where they are receiving and giving. And it is a win win situation. And that happens only if they can trust the time, trust the process, surrender, and have a good reputation. The reputation that we build every single time for ourselves. We can ask the cosmic power to give us one good reputation so that we know we can always show up to that one reputation. And that will take off a lot of anxiety. Going back to Kali Devi, she will eat that up to say that I can't show up my true self from the day one. I felt like that is beautiful. That is what time heals, how it heals, how's our relationship with time. It is our relationship with Kali Devi, the Kala, and when we surrender and trust her, that is how we heal. Wow, this is a beautiful revelation. Thank you.
I'm just in awe that she just wanted to show herself, right?
I'm doing a goddess podcast today with Asha. Please come, please come, please come, please come, please come. And she was like, yeah, you go talk to her and you will find me only towards the end. And I was like, what that even means? Now I know.
Can I tell you a really vulnerable story? This was actually given to me by one of the sisters that I wouldn't say betrayed me, but like let me go in a harsh way. I know like maybe there's like some people may be like, oh, you shouldn't be holding on to that energy. But I feel like it's a reminder um that it was actually Kalima who brought me that painful moment in my life, for better or worse, right? Like, but hopefully better, or I don't know if it's better or worse, but it's certainly divine. And certainly the will of soul and hers. I just, when I see her, even in her fierceness, I just see love. Like, I see love. It is puzzling to me, I will say, because I'm not somebody who, like, I see fierce things and I definitely I'm like a little afraid. But when I see her, I just feel love.
Yeah, she is full of love. And I was like completely taken aback that she's so fierce, just like woman. All of us, we are part of her, and we have this intensity, going back to the intensity that we are so afraid to show. We need to learn and say, look at Karima. We have her. We are part of her image. We don't really need a reason to show ourselves in our culture, especially because she showed us. all the image that she has. Why wouldn't we? Why can't we? We can. She got our back. For me, leading back to the culture, to the way of life of Sanatan Dharma has been a healing journey to come back to know who I am. Coming from my multicultural immigrant lifestyle that I had in Malaysia, knowing that leading back to my own lineage, my own heritage, has been truly healing. My story with Kalima is even worse. My mother pulled me off from the temple. She say exactly what you say. She's so fierce. She's so angry. I was like 5, 6 years old, and I was looking at her. Oh my god, look at her. She's so beautiful. She's so happy. She's smiling. I was like dancing there all alone in a small temple, and my mother just came and say, "No, she's so angry. This is not the person that you can be with." And after years, she came back. She was like, "See, I'm still here. I'm still the same." The viewpoint of a child versus a woman, or a viewpoint of anybody who's seeing her. She just shows up as who you are. That's what I've learned after so many years. It is not what everyone thinks. We also have the option to show up as who we are. And at any point of time when we show up differently, it is just the version that they are bringing out of us. There are times that we go back and we cry and we say that what I could have done better. Did I do something wrong? We probably it's one of the tools that we can have in our pocket to say that is the energy they brought out. That is the feeling that they brought out at that time. And that feeling, that energy, that character that came out from me is also part of me. The level of trusting and acceptance is a great tool to have to lead in within us and take that show, the Maya that is in front of us and say, well, that was that. What is next?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so beautiful, right? To have an answer to that question of the essence of time is really Kala, is really Kalima. There, that's the answer, right? And what she will do is so unique to each of us depending on what we need.
The balance of divine feminine and masculine, which is inside us, brings the integration that we need, that we have forgotten.
Being woman is that we are flexible. That is part of our gift, the flexibility.